At the laundromat, an elderly woman asked me, "How long have you been hiding from your family, dear?" I dropped the shirt I'd been folding and asked who she was. "Don't play dumb. You're Vincenzo's boy, aren't you? You look just like him around the eyes." I hadn't heard my father's name spoken aloud in 8 months. I asked again who she was. She introduced herself as Anita Morales, explaining she used to clean for my grandmother before she passed. She then told me my sister Elena had been looking everywhere for me, pushing a slip of paper with an address toward me, and saying Elena would be there Thursday night at 8 p.m. I shoved the remaining clothes into my bag and walked out, leaving half my laundry behind. At my apartment, a studio above a Chinese restaurant, I paced across the room. After what happened with Gideon, I'd cut all contact, changed my number, moved across the city. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "John, we know you're alive. Please, come home. E." I threw the phone against the wall. Saturday morning, I drove to Brianna's house in the suburbs. She opened the door before I knocked. Brianna commented that I looked terrible as she let me in. I thanked her sarcastically and told her I needed advice. After explaining about the woman at the laundromat, I asked how she found me when nobody knew my location. Brianna poured coffee and suggested my family had connections. She asked what I planned to do. I admitted I wasn't sure if I could face Elena after what happened. 8 months, John. You disappeared after the accident. They deserve answers, she said. I left Brianna's house without deciding. On Wednesday, I sat in my car outside the cafe address Anita had given me. Through the window, I saw Elena sitting alone, checking her watch every few minutes. I gripped the steering wheel, ready to drive away, when she looked up and our eyes met through the glass. I couldn't run again. The bell jingled as I entered. Elena stood, her face showing no emotion. 8 months, John. We thought you might be dead, she said. I apologized and explained that after what happened to Gideon, it seemed better that way. Elena shook her head, asking if that was what this was about, if I thought they blamed me for the accident. I reminded her I was driving, and Gideon was my best friend and her husband. She responded by telling me I'd just vanished, missing the funeral, offering no explanation, and that Dad had a heart attack from the stress. My stomach twisted as I asked if Vincenzo had a heart attack and if he was okay. She confirmed he survived, but barely. We drove separately to the hospital across town. In the parking garage, Elena grabbed my arm and warned me to be gentle since our father didn't know I was coming. My father looked smaller in the hospital bed, tubes connecting him to machines. His eyes widened when I entered. "Giovanni," he whispered, using my full name. I apologized to him. "Why did you run?" "We needed you," he asked. I sat beside him and explained I couldn't face them knowing I killed Gideon. Elena spoke from the doorway. "That's why we needed to find you. You didn't kill him." Confused, I reminded her I was driving. "The investigation finished months ago. There was a mechanical failure in the brakes. The car manufacturer issued a recall 3 weeks after the accident," she explained. I stared at her, asking why nobody told me. Elena said they tried, but I had disappeared. The next morning, we gathered at the cemetery. I hadn't visited Gideon's grave since the funeral I'd missed. Elena placed flowers while I stood awkwardly behind her. She mentioned there was something else I should know. Gideon had left something for me. At the lawyer's office downtown, Mr. Alvarez slid a sealed envelope across his desk, explaining Gideon left explicit instructions it was to be given to me and only me. Inside was a key and an address. Elena drove me there, a storage facility on the outskirts of town. Unit 237 contained one item, a vintage motorcycle, restored to perfect condition. The one Gideon and I had talked about fixing up since high school. Taped to the seat was a note. "For when you finally learn to live a little, brother, don't waste it." I turned to Elena, who was leaning against the doorframe, and asked how Anita found me at that laundromat. Elena explained she hadn't. Elena had hired a private investigator 3 months ago, and Anita was his mother.